And,
All right.
and Chris, before you
Yes.
go, I'm so sorry. May
Oh,
I?
that's good.
You had mentioned the short-term medical plans and that they are PPOs, at least the ones I work with.
They all are.
Okay. How often do you run across, let's just use Pivot, for example. How often do you run across somebody that goes to a doctor and they say, oh, we don't accept that?
I tell them, you don't know this insurance, please run it. I'm so tired of the receptionist thinking they have any idea what the cards are. John's laughing because we run into this all the time. The receptionist is the one who gets the card, looks at it and goes, yeah, I've never heard of this. I don't think we take it. Yes, you do. They cover everybody. So you kind of have to tell the client to forcefully make them take it.
Okay. And when you say please run it, you're saying just run it through for approval, payment.
All of it.
Okay.
Like it especially Pivot, right? Pivot, the Epic plan, which is one we sell all the time, doesn't have a network. They cover everybody. I mean, they cover anything. So it's like and so I will tell them, tell your client, I say, tell the receptionist they cover everybody. Please take my insurance. I think it's a little arrogant that the receptionist thinks that they know every insurance company there is. Because we even had one, Anthem Blue Cross, somebody, did that just come up, I think, right? That they were like, oh, Anthem, they don't take them. They've never heard of them. And I'm like, are they new? Like, well, we don't know this plant. Well, still, are you new?
Just to kind of go back to the situation with the pivots. If they're getting so much pushback, like let's say that there's a hospital system located not far from you that gives time about insurance, you can just ask for the itemized bill and send it to Pivot.
Yeah.
They'll take that too.
And I had Pivot. No, it was Allstate. No, this was before it was Allstate, was NetGen, actually called the hospital system he's talking about because they would not run this claim. They just wouldn't run it. They wouldn't run it. And she called them. She called the billing department and she called, and which was amazing. I mean, Allstate, I will tell you, their customer service for the agents is awesome, but they called Allstate Allstate on her own. She called this hospital billing company and she called me back and said, just so you know, I called them and evidently I don't know who I work for, but it's not an insurance company. So she even called that hospital system's billing department and that billing department's like, we've never heard of you. You're not insurance. And it was like, wait, what? So, and it took like 3 months before it finally got solved. But I'm like, some of them, I don't know. You just kind of want to shake their hand and like, how about you just try running it? See what happens. Christy, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question. You're talking about that pivot and how you say all offices should take it because it's a PPO.
Mm-hmm.
But shouldn't it be through like a network that the office takes?
Nope. So Pivot, no, there's different Pivot plans, but the Pivot Epic does not have a network. And they cover it all the same. And they actually have a guarantee. So the one we sell, our number one that we sell all the time is a $500 deductible / max out of pocket. So once they reach 5,000, everything's paid. And they have said, if you get balance billed, if you get charged more than that 5,000, you tell Pivot, they have a whole department that will now call that hospital system and go, no, we paid you like whatever the rate, like kind of the going rate. And you're not allowed to balance bill them. And they will do all the negotiation behind the scene and then they will resolve it and the client never has to pay more than 5,000. So that's
right,
one of the reasons why we pay that. So there's no network. You just go where you want.
Okay. So I guess that's why the doctor's offices are saying they don't want to take it because they don't know what the rate is.
No, it's because the receptionist doesn't know what she's talking about.
Okay.
Like, just take this. Now, I don't usually tell people with short-term plans to use it for their annual. Just pay cash. But if you have an emergency, tell them to take this, or you're going to have something big, tell them to take it. And you kind of have to insist as the client. I like what Rosalind said. She preps her clients and tells them, I already called beforehand, billing department's going to take it. Because it's really not usually the billing department. It's usually the front desk person who's telling you, we're not going to take this. We've never heard of this insurance. And as clients, we have to insist that they do.
Okay.
And go, well, how about you run it? And when I get the bill, I'll pay it. right? And then, you know, and the reason that attitude even came around, we never had that issue, was because of the ministry plans. That's what started it. The ministry plans, before the Affordable Care Act and before they became this, you know, ginormous thing that was unwieldy, they would submit them, and then and the ministry plan would pay the hospital, the clinic, whatever. Well, they started getting inundated with way more claims than they really could handle. And in the meantime, the hospital's twisting, you know, twiddling their thumbs, waiting to get paid. And so it was probably 2016, I think, I kind of, in our state, unilaterally, everybody went, we're not taking any ministry plans. And then that's when the receptionist really started nitpicking and started really going, I don't know what this is. So it's kind of, it's almost like the telephone effect. They weren't supposed to take ministry plans, but over the years, it's just kind of grown into don't take anything we don't know what it is.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
Why pivot over Golden Rule or Allstate? In the reason is the rates. Every state and every county, the rates are going to be different. The rate of the Allstate in our area is almost, you know, it's just outrageous. It's just twice as much as Pivot. I mean, now United Healthcare for me, which is Golden Rule, United Healthcare, if they've had Pivot and they can't, because our state, you can only have it for 1 year, and they switch to a different they have to switch to a different carrier. The $7,500 United Healthcare deductible / max out of pocket is usually about the same price as the Pivot's $5,000. Well, if I'm comparing them, well, you know, most people want a lower out of pocket. So that's why I've used Allstate. I use them a lot, actually. For a while, I was flipping United, Allstate, United, Allstate, United, Allstate. And then when Allstate, actually was before it was Allstate, it was when it was NetGen. Then Allstate bought NetGen in Wisconsin. The rates just became not really worth it. But John found one. The one nice thing Allstate has is they have an HSA qualified short term. So if you've got that younger, healthy, makes more money, but wants an HSA option, all right, there we go. There's we use Allstate. It's
Another
not-
thing that I like about Pivot is that with their enrollment process, if you got Golden Rule or Allstate, sometimes they have a lengthier underwriting, whereas with Pivot, they kind of do almost like a pre-approved, and if they find out that you had something, then they'll just not cover it. So you can get it to start the next day, and they'll have their cards in hand for the next day.
Right. And I do like the guarantee for not getting balance billed. Now, United Healthcare is definitely, we don't see people being denied, oh, we've never heard of this when we show up with the United Healthcare, but we've seen it with the Allstate, and I sell Allstate Group. And it's like, no, this is a legit company. So, but yeah, the Pivots, 1 year Allstate, the younger people were cheaper than United Healthcare, but the older people were cheaper with United Healthcare than Allstate. So, but the last, I don't know, 4 years, Allstate in our area has been it's just more expensive than the other two. So I think it's come down to price, and the legislation is coming. We don't know what that's coming with the short terms. They want to take it back down to 4-month only. Pivot has kind of said, all right, if that's what we're doing, we're going to figure it out, man. We're going to be the #1 short term. And Allstate's kind of said, and then we're out. No, they haven't said that yet, but some of them, it's not worth messing around with all the legislation. So, you know, just kind of keep your ear out as we learn about it. You know, I'll be happy to share. In fact, if it comes out before next week, I'll be like, sorry, we're going to change our agenda a little bit, because that kind of stuff we really need to do. Don't doctors get to choose which insurance companies they take? They get to choose what insurance companies they get to contract with. But if it's a PPO, you know, there's really no reason for them to not take it. They're going to get something, whether they get it from the insurance or whether they get it from the person. When it's a PPO, the whole point of a PPO is that you can go where you want to go, right? So they can choose who they contract with. And yes, a doctor, an individual doctor can say, I'm not taking any of this, I'm not taking that carrier or so-and-so because they won't pay me anything. That's different than going, I just don't know who this is and we're not taking you. You know, again, that's back to the receptionist who thinks they know. So, and I just go, could you please just send this to the billing department? It's like calling healthcare.gov, right? You have to call healthcare.gov because there's an escalation. You don't mess with the small person who's only been working there for 3 months and is reading off a script. You're like, can you just get me to the people who actually know? Like, you know, I know this escalation can happen. The baby needs to be put on for December and it's January. You know, sometimes you just have to skip past the person who doesn't really know.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
I just want to throw in, I'm a poster child for Pivot. I will tell you what happened to me. My daughter, I went on Medicare, and and my daughter, I put her on Pivot. We had to go to one of those standalone ER places at 3 a.m. You know, bills $20,000. So I walk in kind of with the gloves on, ready to fight. And they just took it and they said, you just owe us $500, which was the deductible for the the payment for the copay for the ER. I said, nothing else, nothing else. By the time that whole thing was done, and this was a $5,000 deductible, I only ended up coming out of pocket $1,500, that $500 and another $1,000. That's it. And I saw that bill for $20,000. And I don't even know what happened behind the scenes, you know?
Yep. Their customer service, I've had clients who've been on short terms. We've been flopping them short terms for years, and they have said by far Pivot's their favorite one to work with. So good customer service, good customer service for the agents. We like our customer service. I like the Allstate people too. They're awesome, but their rates are just, you know, they have no control over the rates. So short terms can absolutely, thanks Sharon, they can absolutely be what's needed. So I hope legislation understands that. I mean, you should not be selling it as if it's just as good as ACA. It's not. It's a different product. It's just different, but there's definitely a niche for all short terms. All right. Thank you all. Turning off the recording.